course, we know open up with UCLA. We've talked about that game. Second week of the season, you have McNeese State coming into town. Third week of the season, you have Central Michigan coming into town. All right, so the fourth week of the season is the SEC opener. We've already talked about that one at Mississippi State. Let's move on to week 5. You've got the Auburn Tigers coming in to town. We mentioned it. Haven't won in Tiger Stadium since 1999. Obviously, a brand new staff for the Auburn Tigers there. Going to be changing some things up. So you get Auburn kind of back in its normal spot, Hunt.
Yeah, back there in early October. And it feels right. It'll be 1,000 degrees in Baton Rouge, and that's about when you should play Auburn.
All right, so moving to week 6, LSU at Kentucky.
If you're looking to travel and you're not going to California to UCLA for whatever reason, this is the best trip of the year at Kentucky. We don't do it very often. And on Jimmy Ott, Johnny on the spot on Twitter says that's the opening weekend of Keeneland when y'all played there in 2007. Sorry about the result there. One of the best road trips we went on. I went up there. Keeneland's open. That's the racetrack up there. You can go in there, bet on the ponies a little bit, have some pops, tour a bourbon distillery if you want to do that. And the weather's really good in October in Kentucky. If you're looking for a trip to make outside of the actual football, Kentucky, Lexington is probably the best one on the schedule outside of the Rose Bowl.
All right, there you go. That's your vacation
travel
destination
tips.
Travel tips by Hunt Palmer. All right, it's not an opponent that you play very often, but LSU has more talent than Kentucky. I know that you mentioned we didn't get it done in 07, but you got to go up there. You've got to get it done because the next week you've got Florida coming to town, and obviously that's
they'll be in a good mood.
That's a great rivalry game that we talk about very often. LSU's had the better of it. Really, when you look at the last 20 seasons, LSU's gotten the upper hand in that battle, and we know how last year's game ended with the shoe toss, 20 yards. The referee told us so. LSU hits a 57-yard field goal to win it. Drama in the fog, one of the best games of the season. So that's a matchup that we always look forward to, and it is what it is. It's going to be a physical contest between two very athletic teams.
I'm not going to complain about having to play Florida this year because Alabama does as well. So no complaints from me. LSU and Florida, that's fine.
Somebody needs to check his temperature. Never heard you say that before. Week 8, after you play the Florida Gators, you travel to Ole Miss to take on the Lane Kiffin-led Ole Miss Rebels.
That will be your 7th game, 8th game in a row without a bye. So could be a little bit banged up there after a physical Florida game.
Remember when I said the bye needs to come a little bit earlier and you kind of rolled your eyes at me?
I didn't roll my eyes. I said, where do you want it to be?
You rolled it. I want it to be like 1 week above where it's at. I want it to be after Florida, before Ole Miss, before Alabama.
And it's your only back-to-back road trips of the year at Ole Miss, at Alabama, but there's a bye week between them.
Obviously, that's a stretch. We talked about the stretch. That's a pretty salty 4-game stretch. You got Auburn at home, on the road to Kentucky, Florida at home, at Ole Miss. Now, you could also say, okay, let's just go Florida, Ole Miss, Bama. That's a stretch as well, but you do have the bye week.
But if you're gonna tell me Kentucky and Ole Miss are difficult games, which I could agree with or I could disagree.
I didn't say Kentucky's going to be a difficult game.
But if that's tough, then what do you say about Auburn and Texas A&M and Alabama? Like it's.
Well, I already said Auburn. That's
the league you're playing.
It is, but obviously what Ole Miss is going to be able to do offensively on every team that they play in the league, that's something that you're going to circle. And going to Lexington, just not a place you're familiar with. I'll toss that in there because obviously, once you get to the back half, you realize what it is because it's been the same for a very long time. Week 10, you've got LSU traveling to Tuscaloosa to take on Alabama. Week 11, Arkansas at LSU. Week 12, Louisiana Monroe comes to town. And then week 13, you finish it up like you have the last couple of years with A&M. This time it's back in Tiger Stadium.
So if you're sick and tired of sitting at home for an entire year like everyone's done and you want to go and see some football on the road, here are your road trip opportunities: at UCLA in September, at Mississippi State in September, at Kentucky in October, at Ole Miss in October, and at Alabama in November. That November 6th will be LSU's last game away from Tiger Stadium. The home games, McNeese, Central Michigan, Auburn, Florida, Arkansas, ULM, and Texas A&M. I'd really like to beat A&M this year. As usual.
I'm about to say, that's you're kind of number one every single year.
They're kind of renting space in my head, too. Them and Alabama are just throwing a cocktail party right up in my dome.
Yeah, different reason, though, and you can't allow that to happen. We got to get you fixed there. All right, so that's the slate. back-to-back road games, as you mentioned, the one time there, but you do have a bye week in the middle of it. Remember, there was one point last year because of cancellations and movements, LSU was gone from Tiger Stadium for a month. So that is important to note.
Look, it's as favorable a schedule as you could hope to have. Your East teams are Florida, and you go to Kentucky, and then you don't have any traditional heavyweights back-to-back. You play Auburn, and then you got Kentucky. You play Florida, then you got Ole Miss. You got Bama, then you play Arkansas. Look, I think Ole Miss is going to have a fun team. I think Kentucky plays you real physical. And then, if Mississippi State's going to throw it all over the yard, nothing's a piece of cake here. Nothing's Vanderbilt's 0-10 team. But as far as name brands go, no back-to-backs there, and then your bye is in front of Alabama. And I did check Alabama's bye is in front of LSU's again. So that's what you'd expect.